والله يدعو إلى دار السلام ويهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Compassionate, the Most Merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. To all of our viewers out there, may the peace and blessings of God be upon all of us. We are honored again one more time with the presence of Dr. Ja'far Shaikh Idris, a renowned prominent scholar here, in discussing the concept of reason and faith. Dr. Ja'far, it's good to be with you again here. Wa iyyakum. Shaykh, last time we were talking about the different arguments that were presented by Ibn Taymiyyah, and generally speaking we said that there were three of them that he pointed to. The innate nature of humanity, that we are inclined to believe in the existence of God. Then he spoke about the ayas, and then what we finished with last time was the cosmological argument.
These are not, of course, peculiar to Ibn Taymiyyah. They are very well-known arguments. We were talking only about what he said about the argument. But that of the ayahs was known. Many Muslim theologians
have pointed that out before.
Talked about and the cosmological argument. Okay. And we said that he said that the cosmological argument is good as far as it goes, but it doesn't go far enough.
And by that, I remember correctly, if I remember correctly, you said that it points out to a creator or to what?
To an eternal cause.
Not necessarily God.
Not necessarily God.
Okay.
And this objection was made also by some philosophers. They said, you haven't proved the existence of, you made a jump, you jumped from the existence of an eternal cause to
point out to an existence of a creator.
The God whom they call the God of religion. Now, I said that from the fact that this, we have proved that the cause must be eternal, we can go to other attributes. Now I try to prove this.
To speak about some of the attributes of God.
Yes, that can be deduced from the fact that this eternal thing
is God,
that caused temporal things, must be God. Why? First, is a logical matter, and it was also expressed by many Muslim thinkers. If something is eternal, it must be everlasting.
Well, that's what eternal means.
Eternal means has no beginning.
Okay.
No. Everlasting has no end.
Okay, just to make sure, eternal may be something that has no beginning, but it might have an end?
No, they say it can't be so.
Okay.
If it has no beginning, it cannot have an end.
Got you.
Why? Their argument is that if it has no beginning, this means that it did not depend on something for its existence, on something other than itself.
To exist, sure.
No. And a thing goes out of existence only if it depends for its existence on something outside itself.
Now that makes sense, yes.
Now, for example, this.
It's the other way around.
This flame will be there so long as there is oxygen, so long as
you're pressing on it.
I'm pressing on it, so long as
the alarm does not sound in the stereo.
There's no wind, so long as the fuel is there, if it lacks any of these conditions of its existence, it goes.
It will come to an end.
It will come to an end. So, if something has no beginning, it cannot have
An end.
an end. But something can have a beginning and not have an end. There's no problem in this if it depends for its existence on something
that is eternal.
that is everlasting, like paradise has a beginning created by God, but it has no end
Because it's dependent.
So now we have three attributes. For power, that because it created, it must have power.
Okay.
It is eternal.
Sure.
It is everlasting.
Sure.
Now, how does it create?
Sure. And these are all attributes that are rationally deduced
Yes.
from accepting the cosmological argument
Yes.
that there is
Yes.
a creating force out there.
Yes. And as I said, Muslim theologians, including Ibn Taymiyyah, say that it is wrong, as some people think, that all the attributes of God we learn from revelation. They say this is not true. This is not true, because at least you know that He's a creator. This is one of the attributes of the Creator. So, and they say that many of the attributes can be known by reason, yes.
Many of the attributes of God.
Of God can be learned, deduced by reason. Here we have some examples of this. Now, they make a distinction between a cause that is natural cause, like if I use this to burn something, so I would say that the fire burnt
The paper.
This is natural causation. And there is a willful agent, like I am now using this. I am a willful
agent.
I am not like the fire that burns.
Okay.
I do this with my will. Now, they say that a natural thing, a natural cause, depends for its causation on something else. It can't cause it just by itself.
Sure.
No. So God cannot be just a natural cause. He must be willful.
Agent.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, but if he is willful, then he must have knowledge.
Sure.
Because if you will to do something, then you must have an idea of what you are going to do. And you find in the Quran, أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ.
وهو اللطيف الخبير.
Doesn't the one who creates know his creation?
Sure.
Now, if he's willful, then he's knowing. If he is knowing, he must be living. He must be alive.
Sure.
So these are some of the basic attributes of the Creator. If you have now proved that he is living, that he is willful, that he has knowledge, that he is powerful, that he is eternal, that he is everlasting, this is the God of religion. Now you can, a person who is convinced that all these attributes can be deduced from the fact that that cause is eternal, can easily see, I think, unless he's a very prejudiced person, that all these attributes are the attributes, or at least they are some of the important attributes
Of a creator.
of the Creator that religion is talking about.
Sheikh, I think we're coming back to the same conclusion that we have started this with, where you see that the rational deduction is coming where exactly the revealed religions have been teaching throughout the time.
Yes, and again, we talked too much about Ibn Taymiyyah now, because as I said, I wrote this book about him. But recently I read something very, very interesting. in a pamphlet that has been published, a new pamphlet. He says that there is something like an equivalence between reason and religion. Everyone implies the other. He said that if you are really rational, then your reason will lead you to the conclusion that there must be a creator, that there must be prophets, and so on. And if you are truly religious and you know about your religion, this will lead you to the conclusion that reason, you will give reason its due. And he gives some verses of the Quran في ذلك. لمن كان له قلب أو ألقى السمع وهو شهيد.
Yes.
The Quran says that this is for someone who has قلب here means mind or reason. أو ألقى السمع, or someone who listens. He says that these are two, and the Quran said أو. It didn't say must have both. If he gives reason its due, he will accept this truth. If he listens and understands what God says, then he will come to the conclusion. So he says that there is, in fact, far from it being, that there is a conflict between revelation and religion. In fact, they imply each other.
Shaykh, I have a confession to make, and probably I shouldn't be saying this in front of all the viewers out there, that so many times I came across this verse in Surah Qaf, but never paid attention to this article of aw, the preposition, or, that it's implying that if you have that mind, or the faculties of learning, and this specific case that is to listen attentively, it would lead you to such a thing.
And this verse can also be explained by another verse, which says that the people who go to hellfire would say, لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل ما كنا في أصحاب السعير. Had we been among those who listen or reason, we would not have been in hellfire. So this means that they lack both of them. A really rational person will believe in the Creator and all that follows from this. And a really faithful person will believe in reason and give it its due.
And there is no need to either jeopardize or compromise one of them for the sake of other. With this, we're going to take a short break. Please stay tuned, and we shall return soon, inshallah.
If you're 18 or if you're 80, if you've been Muslim for 50 years or 5 minutes, this is a show for you. You know, when 5 times a day our foreheads touch the ground in prayer, we beg for what's most important in our lives. We want to be good people, better Muslims. We want to serve Allah Almighty with all our hearts. In this show, Let's Talk, every week we're going to talk about Islam and life, how to relate with other people and how to serve Allah. We'll have studio guests, we'll have a live studio audience, there'll be an email for you to write to, talk@huda.tv. So if you're looking for something different, looking for something that will make you think, maybe even touch your heart, this is the show for you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you very much for joining us again as we are getting into some very beautiful aspects here with what Shaykh Ja'far was discussing earlier with regard to this idea that was said by Ibn Taymiyyah earlier about either have that intellect or pay attention attentively or listen attentively to what is being said, and that will be the process of guidance there. Sheikh, we're still talking about attributes of God that can be rationally deduced from looking into the creation of God.
Yes.
And I believe so far you have mentioned everlasting. You have also mentioned ability or power to create. You've also implied that would imply knowledge and also ability to do or will to do.
Of course, we can go on about other attributes, but I want to concentrate now on something negative. That he cannot have a child. This is something that is very important in Islam, and the famous verse, "قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ." He was not.
He does not beget, nor was he
begotten. Why? The Quran gives arguments for why not.
So, I'm sorry, Sheikh, you're saying that rationally speaking, we can deduce positive arguments about God, and also, rationally speaking, we may negate some attributes that are not befitting to God.
Because some of the Arabs used to say, as you read in the Quran, that the angels are the daughters of God. So it is not only some Christians who say that God has a son. The Arabs used to say his daughters, and all the angels. It means that he has millions of daughters, not only one person. And it seems that there was also a sect, a Jewish sect at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, who used to say Ezra is the
Son of God.
Son of God. Now, the Quran says this cannot be the case, and Muslim theologians elaborate on what the Quran says. For example, the Quran says, "ليس كمثله شيء." There is nothing like him. There is nothing that is eternal, everlasting,
as God is.
Yes. So how can he have a child? If the child is like the father, it must be eternal. If it is eternal, it cannot be begotten.
Because it would have a beginning, since it's a child.
Yes, it must have a beginning. So if it has a beginning, then it cannot be divine. So you have to choose between.
Is it this or
either this or that? Also, the Quran says that
Sheikh, I'm sorry, I just being here a devil's advocate. If you remember what was said earlier about a thing may have a beginning, but it can be everlasting by another willful agent.
Yes.
So, just hypothetically speaking, if that's what we mean by saying that God has a child, even be it in the case of some Christian denominations or the case of the earlier Arabs saying that, well, this is the case from now on.
Yes, but that will not be a child. That will not be, divine. Because otherwise, everything in paradise will be divine.
Because now they are becoming everlasting.
Yeah, everlasting. So the fact that something is everlasting does not make it divine. It must be both eternal, has no beginning, and has no end. And since everything other than God must be temporal, nothing can be divine.
Other than God.
Other than God. The Quran also says that God is self-sufficient, ghani. So he doesn't need to have a child. There is a verse in the Quran which has been misunderstood even by some early scholars, but some of them corrected that wrong understanding, and it is now sometimes being used by some people who criticize the Quran for saying that God cannot have a child. There is a verse in the Quran which says, لو أراد الله أن يتخذ ولدا لاصطفى مما يخلق ما يشاء. Had he wanted to have a child, he would have chosen from his creation. But the verse itself shows that this is not a child in the sense of a child that is being born, because he says he would have chosen from his creation. And that's why some of the interpreters of the Quran said that Allah means here adoption. He would choose one of his creation and make
designate them as
adoption. But even that doesn't suit him. He will not even do that, which is possible, logically possible. The first one is logically impossible. It's logical. And it is logically impossible also because the Quran says, أَنَّا يَكُونُ لَهُ وَلَدٌ وَلَمْ تَكُنْ لَهُ صَاحِبًا. How can he have a child, seeing that he has no wife? And a father doesn't beget children. Some of those, some of the scholars, some of the Christian scholars who criticize this kind of argument, they tell me, you are taking the word son literally. I say, this is what son means. But I'm not insisting on giving it this well-known meaning. Just give me your meaning of son.
Metaphorical.
Yes, even when you say something is metaphorical, you say it means something. For example, if you say, as you said in Arabic, someone is a lion, and then you say, I don't mean he's a lion in the sense that he's a beast. Then I can say, what do you mean? You can say, I mean he's brave. So if you say that Jesus is the Son of God, I say, God cannot have a son. And you say, no, you are taking this literally.
So what do you mean?
So I ask you, then what do you mean? I'm not insisting. I don't like you to say that God has a son. If you give the word son a meaning that is acceptable, I will say the difference between us is only a difference of verbal difference of using a word in the correct sense, and that is not a big problem. But no one has come with another meaning for the word son. Recently I read, someone wrote to us and criticized, and he said that according to some new manuscripts or so, that the word son was a wrong translation. And the correct translation is that he is one of a kind. I said, okay, this is better than saying he's a son. But then, why one of a kind? This means that no one else is like Jesus in any way. This itself is one of the attributes of the Creator.
Well, in a sense that he was born with no mother, only out of a father.
Okay, but that does not make him very because he has some other attributes of human beings. He used to eat, he used to drink, he died. And also the other problem is that, especially for the Christians, if you say that he is, some of them, by the way, say he is eternal. I was surprised to read this even in one of the commentaries on the Bible. Some of them say that he is eternal. But then the objection would be, if he is eternal, as we said, he must be everlasting. So he cannot die. You cannot say that he is eternal, but he died. So this is a contradiction in terms.
That won't be acceptable or befitting to the majesty of a creator. Shaykh, we will come back to the idea of more of the attributes of God. But I remember reading once in one of the articles that you wrote about the subject that in Islam, the emphasis is not only to believe in the existence of God.
Yes.
It invites you to get to know God and have a personal relationship with Him that should impact your life
Yes.
positively.
Yes, that's what. That's why I said at the beginning of the third episode or fourth, I don't know. I said that this is not how prophets start their message to the people. They don't start by telling them that there is a God, that He exists. No, they invite them to worship none but God. And they teach them how and why to worship that God. So the important thing is not just to believe in the existence, because someone can believe, and in fact, some people do. They believe in the existence of the Creator, but then
it has very little consequence.
In their everyday life, they behave just like non-believers. So. And most of the people to whom prophets were sent were believers in the existence of the Creator.
But they didn't.
Like the Arabs.
But they didn't act accordingly.
No, they didn't act accordingly. So the emphasis is on worshipping the Creator, knowing Him, as you said, because the more you know Him, the better your relationship with Him will be, and the better you will be in a position to worship Him. Also, the Quran uses an argument that, especially when it comes to prophets, He says that Allah will not choose someone to convey His message who would then go and tell people, I am God. He is sent to convey the message of the Creator, not to claim that he himself is God. He himself is a creator. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Shaykh, please do hold on that thought. Like I said the other day, it seems that the more exciting this is getting, the sooner and faster time is passing us by. But we will visit this topic again. With this, we come to the conclusion of this episode, and inshallah, we will be seeing you next time. With this, we say so long, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.